So yeah, what I was gonna say, right? So right here, right? I like that you end up shadowing, right? They are both on the wall.
Yeah.
They don't have too much of a threat, really, because it's kind of hard for them to get anything from this jump, especially since the other opponent's right next to them. And you're kind of aware
Yeah.
of that, right?
Yeah.
You wanna just be a little more decisive here, right? You need to at least grab the pads, right?
Yeah.
You just end up missing one or two. So basically, it could be a mechanical thing, just being able to practice that.
Yeah.
I do like the idea that you're just staying here though, right? Because there isn't much reason to just go back, right? You can just stay near the play, be able to control it easier, right? Just
Yeah.
because you're staying with it. But yeah, make sure you practice getting pads more because it could definitely matter. In this situation, they
Yeah.
kind of threw it away, but right. And also, I would say that if you if the other opponent didn't follow up like that, it might have been safer to just go back right away. You definitely want to be aware of that.
Yeah.
But in that situation, it's perfectly fine. Just be aware of the boost lanes a little more. Okay. So, yeah, leaving it for him. I mean, realistically, that should be an open net for either of you.
Yeah.
Is this solo queue?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little unfortunate. Yeah, not much you can do. Okay. He just didn't get the best touch or something. Because I was going to say that when you end up going upfield like this, right, it's so hard to expect him to fake like that. And all of a sudden, right, he's still going for the ball. And it's a situation where either of you could easily go for it, right?
Yeah.
And there's no way
That's what I
to,
figured.
yeah, right. There's just no way to guarantee you getting the ball there. If you do see a situation like that, it's totally fine to just play safe and patient. So yeah, so right here, it might have been the boost thing, but really, just notice how much you boost used in the first place, right? You beat one already. You had like 30, 25, right?
Yeah.
But even before the opponent turns, right? Because that's what you want to be looking at. He's still turning away, right? So you don't really have any reason to speed up the play yet.
Mhm.
And so when you end up boosting into the ball, you don't get the best touch, right?
Yeah.
In order to get a good first touch in this situation after you beat him, right? Because he kind of just went backwards, right? It was kind of weird there. It's almost like you're expecting a challenge. It's totally fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, here to get a good first touch, you need to get around the ball. But when you
Yeah.
end up doing it, you just land right here, right? So what you have to do is get to an angle where you're able to hit it to the side far enough, right? But you end up getting a lot, too forward towards it, right?
Yeah.
So just turn a little bit more towards the wall, and then cut further in, right? And also just make sure
Yeah.
you don't use so much boost right away, right?
Mhm.
Because all of a sudden you don't have any play, right? There just wasn't any reason to use this boost resin here because even if he goes for the challenge, like he's last man, right? And if you can get a decent 50, if you can single jump on it, you'll still be fine, right? You just gotta make sure you don't
Yeah.
leave the ball. So you just stay here, stay on the wall. Even you can wait for him to challenge, and then maybe you wait for his challenge and you just hit it around him once he does, right?
Mhm.
So you just end up rushing the play. Remember, just trying to get a little bit further around it. So I mean, it's something to really one. You can't really practice it. It's just more experience. but you'll get better at just knowing which boost pads are available, right? But
Mhm.
if you just notice, the whole play before was on this side. All three
Yeah,
of you
yeah.
right here just passed this boost pad, so it's more than likely that it's not going to be there, right?
Yeah.
And you could have seen him grab it as well, right? Because he's the one that grabbed it, right? If you're aware
Yeah.
of that, you can have that in your mind, right? Stuff like little things like that. You can even just track how much boost I have as well, right? You can definitely practice it, but it's just not something that's highly necessary. But in this situation, if you knew that, then you just want immediately to go for the boost lanes, right?
Yeah.
And also, right, just if you were aware of the last man here, right, he was spending that whole time recovering, getting back. He didn't have anything on the ball, so there's no reason for him to slow down. And because you committed here, right, he's gonna be able to beat you to the boost. Right, so this
Yeah.
whole turn getting for this boost and the mid boost, it wasted like a good 3 or 4 seconds getting no boost, right?
Mhm.
Because you weren't really aware of exactly where the opponents and when they grab the boost, right? So if you're able to see that, right, you'd be able to just go straight to the boost lane. You'd grab 3 or 4. You'd be midfield as well. Right now you're a little
Yeah.
bit further back, right?
Mhm.
So that is something you can practice. The other kind of aspect of this boost part, like you might want to build the habit of just ignoring the big pads and go straight towards the boost lane, right?
Yeah.
So right here you would land, and then instead of turning towards the corner boost, where you might overcommit, you might leave your teammate behind, right? Because you're ending up staying in their half for a little bit. All right, you
Yeah.
can immediately just turn here. You'll still be in the play, right? You'll still be able to turn here because you'll have 30, 40 boost, right? It's much safer, and it's just a much better habit overall because stuff like this, right? You're not able to be completely aware of where they're going if they're
Yeah.
going to take
Okay.
that boost right away, right?
Mhm.
So definitely a more active habit, really, if you're able to just go towards the boost lanes right away, rotate back right away as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that you didn't flip it all here because there's no reason to go that way, pretty much. You just have to wait, let your
Yeah.
teammate kind of challenge here. But when you get towards the corner, you end up being a little bit too far forward,
Mhm.
right? So you just have to make sure that if you are going to kind of be ready on this side, that you also have the chance to kind of go back to the to back post.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that would mean like you would follow it until here, and then as soon as you see him going up the wall, and also maybe you
Rotate
can,
back.
yeah, like exactly, like you just have to notice, right? If he's on the wall, you just have to have a better angle, right? And
Yeah.
also you can notice that your teammate's on the wall as well, and that means that pretty much no matter what, he's not really gonna get a good challenge because, right, he's most likely just gonna jump after him, or he's gonna go on the ground, right? He ends up going up, right? He's still facing towards your side, so there's no way he could take control, make some kind of play where you don't have to deal with it.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Yeah.
right, so just like this, right? He didn't even touch the ball, right? So if you just notice those things, or you can look if your teammate's in the air, right? You can notice if he's on the wall, something like that, right? It
Mhm.
affects the whole flow of the play. You can notice their recovery as well. But here, right, just as soon as you see that both the opponent and your teammate, you'd immediately just turn. You could definitely actually grab 1 or 2 pads, but at the same time, you have to be ready for a quick shot. And this
Yeah.
situation, he's not really able to get that kind of shot, but it's definitely possible for him to just pop it off the wall, go straight to net. But again, you could turn, grab a few pads, just be ready back post. This little arch here is really good for just staying defensive and being able to support whatever kind of challenge is making or your teammate's making, right?
Mhm.
So again, another thing, like you relied on the big pad here. You immediately thought to go for it. You
Yeah.
really should just immediately go towards the boost path, right? This, right? Not
Mhm.
don't go zigzag, obviously, but like
Yeah.
grab a pad or two. You'll be able to
Mhm.
apply so much more pressure, right? And you can maybe get a goal of it just because of that. And the other problem here is that when you're right, it's kind of an awareness thing because again, like as you get more experience, stuff like this will become like a habit, right? You see that you flipped away and you know that the opponent flipped near, right? Because his flip didn't go as far away, right? So you should immediately know that he has a better chance of going for that boost because he's still pretty much here, right?
Yeah.
So you can allow him to get that because he's definitely going to beat you if he decides to go for it. And it's really just better to have this habit to go upfield because again,
Yeah.
you're closer to the play. You're going to get a few pads anyway, right? You don't always need full boost. You'll be able to pressure them, right? The last thing I would say here is just a little bit of a mechanical thing right here. Notice how you didn't use any power slide, right? You end up going very slow to turn here. Obviously, I don't think you should be able to beat him, but you might have if you just power slide towards it.
Yeah, okay.
When you are practicing and paying attention to your power slide, like that should probably be the first thing you do as you warm up, or maybe the second, really. Because you want to have it, like, for me, I find it where if I'm power sliding cleanly, if I'm getting precise turns, that's where I'm playing really good, right? Because you're able to go for pretty much anything you want to. You're able to position yourself and turn yourself into any kind of play, right? So if you start your game or you start your training, warm up, whatever, by practicing power slides right away, it'll actually help you quite a bit. You just end up being a lot faster as well. So even here, another thing I've really started to notice about myself is that when I'm like recovering like this after an awkward flick or whatever, I end up using quite a bit of boost, right? Like here, there wasn't any reason to really use that little bit of boost, right? Instead, either you could have just flipped or you could probably just drive towards it, right? Because again, if you notice the opponent, he's flipping this way, and there is no chance that he's going to challenge right after he flipped right towards the ball, right? Because most likely he's going to wait for his teammate to get out of the way. He's going to wait to be safe. He's going to rotate back, right? And then he'll go, right? So you have to just notice that he's not going to be there. He's not going to be there for a second. That means you just have a little bit more time, right? And like the number one thing I learned as I was getting coached myself is that you have so much more time than you really think you do, right? Like after this, immediately you think you kind of got a messed up flick because he's definitely going to beat you. You have no time, right? That's what you're thinking. But really, right, he's still messing up his recovery. He's just going to go back, right? You're still fine. You don't need to rush towards it, right? You still have plenty of time. Even if you don't get the boost, right, you end up even missing, right? Just notice that, look at the opponents, just try to see if you can give yourself more time, really, and see if you can use it better. It's a little awkward. Staying with the ball here is completely fine. It's just this first touch wasn't the best.
Yeah.
Just wanted to be a little bit softer, right? And again, just note that your teammate isn't rotated back quite yet. So you just want to get a softer touch so you're able to 50 him out. Because now that you give it away, you have to kind of save it on your own, right? Your teammate's path here isn't the best because he's not able to do anything for you. He needs to just flip right away, get the back post. But again, like you just want to get a softer first touch. Maybe notice your teammate's not back right away. Like if you look how much time you had here, again, like he's not turned towards you at all. You still have, a second or two. You could even fake this probably, and you still be able to beat him, right? And you can get a much softer touch, right? You can just go up the wall. You could probably just get a softer touch, let it roll down, right? Like literally anything. There's so many more options. You can definitely practice that. Playing ones helps a lot with that, but I don't really want to recommend that to a lot of people. They tend to hate it, right? most of this is mechanical, but with all mechanics, the better your position, the easier they are, right? Again, right here, like, notice immediately the opponent is faced the other way. There's pretty much no way he can jump for this or turn for this at all. So what you can do is just slow down and wait 2 seconds to jump, right? You'd still be able to beat both of them. You'd have a much easier time shooting it, right? Just because you waited, gave yourself time to prepare or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of awkward just sitting here, right? Not really much to do half the time, but you want to be a little bit more to the side because your teammate just has this right side covered, right? Most of the time, if he's able to challenge here, then it'll probably go towards mid or left, right? If not, then, you know, you can just turn that way, right? But he's probably going to get the 50. He's probably going to stay here. He's going to be able to cover this area for any kind of 50. So you just want to be like a little bit around mid, around the left side, just because he's on that side, right? And that's exactly what ended up happening, right? I mean, if he didn't 50 him, right, he would have, right? I don't know why his opponent. I mean, that's actually not a bad idea, to be honest, because I think he's pretty awkward. Yeah, definitely awkward. So yeah, he saved him. But really, you just want to be a little bit more to the opposite side, so you're ready for a lot more, just because your teammate's covering the other side. But again, you don't want to be too far. You don't want to be too wide. Just like between the midline here and like maybe this boost, right?
Yep.
And just don't forget, like if you're just sitting around like this, just grab more pads, right? There's not much else you can do. But once they go up here, as soon as you see your teammate flip, or you hear him, whatever, right? You know that he's just gonna go back. And so you are now first man. You need to be able to pressure them. So you just have to immediately flip towards this way, right? Get ready to shadow. Get ready to fake challenge, right? There's no reason to real challenge right away. But even if you could just get a little closer, maybe even do a fake jump, right? Anything to just slow them down, make them feel pressured, right? Like in twos, as first man, you just want to limit how much space they have immediately.
Yeah.
Right. As soon as you see that the ball is going that way, you just flip that way. Right. If you can meet them, you can get close to them. Right. It would just help your teammate a lot because it's likely that they'll throw the ball away. And if not, right, you can challenge for them. Right. So, yeah, you did a fake challenge. Let's look from a different angle. This is not a bad first touch at all. But, let's see. It's really hard to be aware of exactly where the opponent is. Because it's just, you know, the ball's in the way, whatever, right? But what you want to be a little bit conscious about is that if you're first man here and if you have decent control of the ball, you shouldn't be so scared of the fake challenge, right? Because if your teammate's correctly positioned, which, you know, he isn't, I guess, but if he was, right, it would be totally fine if you just ignored his fake challenge and then continued your play, right? Because you wouldn't panic, you just stay controlled of the ball, right? Yeah. Just notice where he did his fake challenge here. Like right here. If he just went for this ball, it would be pretty hard for him to have an angle for this, right? And if he did go for it, you'd probably rack to it and, you know, single jump or do something to at least get the 50, right? And then
Yeah.
when he does it again, next when he starts turning a little bit towards this way, right? There's pretty much no way he can get a threatening 50, right? Because he's gonna
Mm-hmm.
turn around this way, right? He's gonna jump at you. Maybe it'll go towards the corner. Okay, that's pretty much the worst thing
Mm-hmm.
it could do.
Yeah.
And then again, just notice the other opponent isn't really in a position to support that kind of corner pass right now. So if you're aware of that, just realize that you don't really need to care about his fake challenge yet.
Okay. Yeah.
It's kind of hard to even realize that because it's so natural to flinch at these. It's so difficult to really get past it.
Yeah.
But you just got to understand you have someone supporting you, so you can just be a little bit riskier as long as you're able to react to a real challenge, right? Because even if he turned here, it would be very obvious if he started jumping or something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
again, that would make it a little bit easier because now you won't be able to get the best touch, right? And they almost score, almost. This isn't too bad. It's just when you wait for so long, right? You know he's about to grab the boost. There is no reason for him not to hit this now, right? So
Yeah.
you just want to be in a better position to where you're able to beat him, right? Because there's no reason to let him hit it. And
Mm-hmm.
if you know that, again, like if you notice he's in the air, right? And if you realize this in game, you would know that you're beating him to the ball pretty much no matter what, because he still has a second or two to land. So if you just wait here, maybe go a little bit further back because you need to be able to give yourself a better angle, right? This isn't even
Yeah.
that
Okay.
bad, right? So you just wait here. You don't need to go any forward, and then you just have to hit the ball, right? You just jump, boost at it, right? You have enough boost to do that. But again, like if he's recovering still, there's no reason to let him beat you. All you gotta do is just hit it high enough to where the other opponent can't immediately turn on it, which should be doable from here, right? You just go like that, hit it somewhere towards the wall that way, right? And your
Yeah.
teammate's even there, right? He'll be able to maybe do something with it, right? There's pretty much no reason to let him hit it there. Yeah, and then it's very hard to do anything here because you end up going towards the corner. And although your teammates, who knows where, right? You wanna. It's a very hard habit to break because you need that boost most of the time. But whenever you force yourself into the corner like this, all of a sudden your angle towards the ball just ends up being very reversed, right? You're backwards now, right?
Yeah.
Because it's
Yeah.
very hard to get momentum and get a good 50 from this angle, just because like it's just like the near post versus back post thing, right? It's hard to face the other way, and hard to
Mm-hmm.
do with precision, right? In order to avoid this, right, you just want to. You could definitely go for the boost. That's fine, but you just want to stay on the ground. You would turn, right? If you don't see your teammate anywhere near you, you just go all the way back to back post, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I would say only back post because he is gonna have a hard time getting a slow play here, or not really a slow play. He doesn't really have many options for a threatening touch because
Mm-hmm.
the ball is kind of rolling in a spot where it's very hard to get a good shot here, right? It's just not that easy. So again, you just go back right away, get the back post. Then all of a sudden, there's not much threat here because you have a lot of time, right? He's most likely just gonna shoot it here, and even if you were back post here, right, you would just end up, driving forward. A little bit of a hard read, but again, you can just beat him to the ball because the other one was further back. He just came off the wall, right? All these things you can
Yeah.
notice about your opponents. Yeah, so It's just kind of just that rotating or staying on the side of your teammate. It's kind of unfortunate that your teammate just like when your teammate tries to stay near the ball and yet he doesn't challenge for you. It's very confusing, right? It's hard to react to that. Because if I see my teammate turn towards the ball like that, I think he's going to challenge, right? That's normal. But the second he just avoids it and then just completely fakes you out, now it's very hard to do anything.
Yeah.
But I think you can still position for that, right? As soon as you see him flip, all you got to do is just turn this way, and then you just want to be wide, right? You don't want to be in back post necessarily, but just kind of face yourself towards back post just so you have more options, right? Because you just want to rotate wide.
Mm-hmm.
Staying near like this is what makes it a little bit harder to get the save. But imagine if you were wide right now, right? If you were around here just because you turned back, right? You turned here, right? All of a sudden, a little bit threatening of a play would just become, you know, hitting it to the corner.
Non-existent, yeah.
Yeah. It just, all you got to do is just notice that your teammate is going to the left, and because he's somewhat near the play, there's a chance he's going to challenge it. So you just position yourself where you're able to support kind of from back post, or, you know, this is usually the line that I'm talking about around your rotating wide because, you know, you're straight towards back post, and you're able to cut in. You're able to, you know, position yourself parallel to the goal line, and all that, right? Just be aware of it. Like, and it's very awkward because most of the time, if your teammate ends up flipping like this, he should just challenge, right? It's probably better for him to actually just rotate back right away. But I mean, it's possible for him to stay here too, but it's just a little awkward because of what he did there. But again, just try to rotate wider, and you're able to kind of be ready for more. Depending on what your teammate does, you'll just be ready for it. Alright, teammate bumps you. That's not your fault at all. Not bad touches, yeah. So there are so many times where people can be hyper focused about, you know, keeping control, but it's so vital to being able to just beat them to the ball. It's getting that 50 as well. It's very good. That should be an open net. I don't think it is quite. No. I mean,
this is Champ 2. We don't take open nets. Like.
Yeah, he really went for the boost. That's funny. Yeah. It should have been, but unfortunate. Wow. I mean, that's kind of a crazy demo. The only thing I could say is that your last man here, it's a definitely risky challenge, right? You just want to, yeah. So basically, if you're not going to challenge here, you would just start shadowing, right? You would, because your teammate's not back or anywhere close to back yet, you have to shadow. You'd have to play like it's ones, right? So you just get towards the side he's in, right? And then start turning back, and then start, you know, shadowing, whatever. And then if he does go for the demo still, that should be fine because your teammate is much faster to the ball here anyway. Alright, so just, again, look at your teammate. If you're last man, you just don't want to challenge if you don't need to. There's always just an added risk because of that. Yeah, so first of all, you weren't really on the boost lane. Well, a little bit, but yeah.
It's something new that I'm definitely trying to recognize a little bit more.
Right, okay. It's good to practice. One little tip though, when you're just trying to get on the boost lane right away, like after this, right, you're trying to get on this right boost lane, just turn off ball cam for half a second. Make sure you're straight
And just
and then
line
flip.
myself up. Yeah.
Yeah. That way, you'll be able to get a lot more. Yeah, just like you did there. You turned off ball cam. Yeah, so you definitely have to touch the ball. There's no reason to fake it. It's kind of hard to get a good first touch here because it's a little bit of an awkward ball. And he's able to, or the opponent's in a position where he can easily challenge you as well. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame you for just playing safe and staying goal side to it.
Yeah.
But you definitely have another option where you could kind of hit it to the left side. If you hit it with the left corner of your car or the side of your car, like on this side of it instead of kind of forward, it might fake him out, right? Either way, like your teammate should be ready, but you just hit it to the left side. You could turn a little bit, make another cut, but a little unfortunate. He went for the bump as well, right? It's just very hard to get a good first touch here, and I'll be honest with you, there are definitely times where instead of just trying to control it, you really should just clear it. Like right here. Yeah, just boom it, right? If you were a little further back, you could just bang it right here. This would actually be an open net, almost. Nah, that's like impossible to score. But it could be possible where it's be very threatening if you just hit it very hard. A little mechanical, a little bit, out of the ordinary where people don't really want to just give away like that. But sometimes you just gotta clear it, and it can definitely be threatening to them if you get it hard enough. Very
caught it there.
Yeah. That, and just making sure you stay grounded a little bit longer.
Yep.
It's very unfortunate because I'm sure even lag too. Half the time they get a ghost touch and it's like flying up and then it teleports down. So it's so hard to react to that. But either way, even if you didn't hit this, there's like no threat to the touch anyway. So for any kind of ball like this, right, even if you do expect your teammate to get the ball, you just want to kind of be parallel to the goal line, right? You just be facing that way, pretty much sitting around here. But that way you have the most time because you're furthest away from the ball, so it's going to take longer, right? And that way, the other aspect of that really is just staying on the ground, right? You would still be driving this way. You don't even have to jump for this, right? You could just stay on the ground for as long as you can, as long as you want to, right? That way it's just easier to get a better first touch because you're able to react to more just by not leaving the ground. I think your teammate's AFK. It's crazy.
Nothing new.
Nice. Back. Yep.
Oh no, I do remember this game now. Yeah, no, he said he had like the worst leg cramps he's ever got.
Oh, that's really unfortunate.
Yeah. So I was like wondering what he was doing, but it's like talk to him.
Right. Alright. That's it. Okay. Yeah, so I mean, definitely a few key issues, right? Just first of all, the boost management thing, right? You're practicing it already, right? So we don't really need to go over it. Just make sure you're building good habits for it, right? Make sure you're focused more on, staying to the boost lanes rather than immediately turning to the big pads, because it's gonna put you out of position a lot. It's gonna force you to play slower, right? Because I remember that one example where they beat you to the boost, and you weren't able to push up field just because you committed for the big boost instead, right? It just puts you in a lot more positions where you're able to do more, right? You're able to apply more pressure, like whatever. But other than that, so that's kind of a mechanical thing as well. Just practice, grabbing the boost lanes. Next thing, making sure you're rotating wider, making sure you're kind of just ready, because whenever you are wide like that, right, your teammate may or not be in front of you, right? It kind of depends, right? If you're last man, it's a lot more important to stay wide, right? I mean, you can't always predict what your teammate's gonna do. If he ends up trying to challenge or shadow for you, you're still gonna be ready because you're orientated towards back post. You're a little bit further away. It gives you yourself more time, more space, right? That's the whole reason.
Yep.
And you're also able to kind of cut in, get a more controlling touch, just because you have a better angle towards your corner, towards safety, really. Let's see. So rotating wide, just making sure you're able to stay back post as well. There are definitely a few times, but that's not a too bad of an issue for you. First touches, right? A lot of it is just straight up experience and playing more. Just being able to decide what's the best play here, what is the best direction to take the ball. But if you can perfect that first touch, right? What I kind of did in free play, right? You just, as you're, maybe in a training pack or even just, in free play, but you just want to focus on different ways to take the ball, right? So maybe you would say you just want to dribble it straight towards the goal. Maybe you want to keep it on your car, try to go up the wall or something and stay near the ground that way, right? Just or maybe, keep it to the ground, right? And then go for a little ground dribble or something, right? Stuff like that where you're just determining exactly what you want and as you're practicing it. So that way when you do it in game, you also, immediately decide, and then, you're able to distinguish between the separate first touches you want to make, right? You just want to kind of practice the same situations you're doing in game, in free play or in training packs, right? It'll give you a lot better time practicing, a lot better getting better at it, right? Whatever. But it's definitely something that could help you. Tying into that, really just making sure that, when you are trying to make that first touch, when you're trying to make any kind of decision, just try to give yourself more time, right? Because, again, you always have more time than you think you do, right? There's so many times where even if you're recovering, right, you probably don't need to rush it so much. And if you realize that, if you look at your opponents, your teammate, right, you can definitely determine whether you need to just go for the ball or slow it down, right? Make a more controlled play. And again, a lot of it is just experience, but the first step is just noticing which opponent's going to hit the ball first. Just look at the first man. Where is he facing? Right? Which direction? And how fast is he going? Right? Because if he's facing the wrong way, then odds are he's not going to be able to challenge for a little bit, right? If he's in the air, then, he's recovering, right? You definitely have more time. Just look for those things. Look for the same things in your teammate, right? It's all about just practicing those things, and using camera movements would help with that a lot too. But muscle memory for that. But again, just continue looking at your teammate, your opponents. It could definitely help. You definitely want to analyze exactly what they're doing and why, because it really helps you determine where to position. And again, just think about why you're positioning there, right? There are definitely times where you could use that information to just predict where the ball is going to go. And obviously you're not going to get right at every time, but if you can get there earlier just because you predicted where it's going to go, right, that might lead to a better situation. You might get more pressure, stuff like that. Just because you're watching the field better, right? So definitely practice that. It's pretty much the main thing. Awareness is such a huge issue for so many players. It could definitely help you a lot. Let's see. So playing with a teammate, again, just making sure it can help to kind of stay obvious, right? If you're flipping, right, immediately he knows you're going to be flipping a certain direction, right? Using stuff like that to, help him out. Immediately he'll see that. Maybe it'll help him decide to go for the ball.
Yep.
And the same way, you know, vice versa. If you see him flip, right, you know he's going to do a certain direction. You can use that to immediately determine whether or not you want to go for the ball.
Okay, yeah.
Uh, the one other thing was that there were times where you're forcing yourself into your own corner, and all of a sudden you kind of have a backwards angle towards the ball.
Mhm.
Just remember that you can always just turn around, give yourself more time, try to maybe get the back post, right? Just
Yeah. Okay.
look at the situation, look at the threat. Really, it's always about the threat. Like, where is first man? What is he doing with the ball? Which way is he facing? And use that to determine, you know, how much time you have. Right? There's gonna be a lot of times you're gonna be wrong. Right? Immediately you'll get punished because you thought you had more time, but
Mhm.
because you are making those predictions, you'll get much better at reading the situations.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that would help you a lot. Uh, I mean, mechanically, the only other thing I could say is that you should try to stay grounded a little bit more. Again,
Yeah.
that's just
Okay.
with timing, right? Because you probably have more time. You can stay grounded just a little bit longer, keep more control, right? You'll be ready for a little bit more just because you're still on the ground, right? You're able to make more
Yeah.
decisions. And it also helps for, you know, aerial stuff like that. Because I remember that one example.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, try to rotate wide, back post,
Yeah. Cool.
practice boost lanes.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
a few mechanical things like staying grounded, first touches.
Yep.
Yeah. You got any questions?
No. No questions. Do you think there's any like I guess mechanics that would be good for me to start learning in C2 that would improve I guess my overall ranking up ability if that makes sense? Like rather
Um,
than more game sense and the touches more like
I forgot to do that. So mechanically, I think you could definitely start practicing flicks. I didn't see too much of that.
yep.
That'd probably what I would suggest because you're able to just, you know, keep control, have a more threatening play. You just
Yep.
want to make sure again, if you get a good first touch, then you're able to not use boost pretty much because I had the issue where my first touches were really bad and I ended up just like holding the ball like this and I would get good flicks but I would have to use all my boost to control the ball. So just make
Yeah.
sure you're getting it all the way on your car, right? That way you're able to conserve boost and get a better first touch just, you know, like that. But again, to get that better first touch, just like I said, you want to cut further in. If it's going like this, you have to go wider,
Yep.
and then you have to make sure it's cut enough. The more you cut, it's probably easier, right? If you try to cut like
Yeah.
this, you have to boost further. You have to make it a little bit awkward, right? Just make sure you keep aware of that. But yeah, I would practice flicks. Front flips can be very useful. Even just as long as you do it consistently, you can definitely catch them off guard, right? If you see them
Yeah.
challenging, you can definitely get it over them.
Okay, cool.
Back flips, probably, and maybe 45s. But again, all things to learn, all things to practice, right?
Yeah, okay, cool.
Any other questions?
No, no questions. Thank you for the replay analysis.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
for sure.
Awesome, thanks, Pete.
Yep. All right. Have a nice day.
All good. Catch you later.
Yep. Bye.